You might think that gills are just for ocean dwellers, but you'd be wrong. For the terrestrial woodlouse, or roly-poly, using gills is as easy as breathing. But how and why does it have gills? It's all a part of its unique classification as a crustacean rather than an insect, and it involves staying as damp as possible. But keeping it moist is how this isopod of many names survives here in life, death, and taxonomy.
Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal info. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, search Cassie Michelle on YouTube. Today, we're talking about a bug of very many names. But more on that right now.
Also not a bug.
That's true.
Not even close.
Not even close. One of those names is bug, and that's not correct. What are we talking about? We're talking about the woodlouse. Yeah, and I know you have a bunch of AKAs for us.
Yes, I do. And none of them are mine because they're all so good.
And cute.
This is like the, when we did the electric fire disco clam. Just too many good names to really, to add to that list. So let's go through what people call the woodlouse. Now you will know them probably, dear listener, as the roly-poly, the little roly-poly bugs, or the pill bug. But they have names from all over the world, and when I say all over the world, I mostly mean the UK. So this is what our friends across the pond call the woodlouse. They call it the potato bug. The doodle bug.
Sure.
I don't know why. It's the carpenter. I don't know.
The wood thing.
Billy Baker.
Oh my gosh.
Just give it a person's
if
first
that's not
and last
the
name.
most English thing I've ever heard.
The boat builder. No, there are two more even more English things coming up. So the boat builder's one. The next one is the cheese log. Yep. Here's one of the most English ones. A cheesy bob. Went outside and saw some cheesy bobs just rolling around. You know, like the cheesy bobs they are. The next one is a chiggy pig. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I feel like I just said some sort of slur. A chiggy pig. Also, a crawly baker.
Why do they think this thing makes pastries?
Why is baker in there?
Or boats?
Also, here's one. Daddy Gramfer.
Get out.
Like a grandpa gopher. Gramfer. Definitely a good portmanteau there. The next one is
Finish with that one.
The dandy postman. So this thing's got all kinds of jobs. It is definitely an animal that wears lots of different hats. It's the postman.
Wow.
It's the baker. It's the boat builder.
Man.
It's the carpenter. It's all.
It's the Eggman. It's the walrus. It's everything.
It is the Eggman. The next one is one of my personal favorites, the damp beetle. It's just a damp beetle.
I guess.
It's about as on the nose as they can get. This looks like a beetle, and it's moist most of the time. So we'll call it the damp beetle.
Are you ready to hear some
No.
words?
I have three more.
You've got more?
I've got three more. I actually had
going.
I picked my favorites out of the list. There's a lot more. It's also known as a monkey peas. Because words. This, and it's also called piggy wig, which I guess inspired the successful North Carolina / Midwest grocery store, Piggly Wiggly's. And the last one is Slaters, which isn't like the funniest. It's just like that's what all people in Scotland call them, is Slaters. So yeah, I mean, I've never. It's just crazy how many names this thing has. Damp Beetle is one of my favorites. I have to hand it to probably Cheesy Bob. It's probably my favorite, my absolute favorite one though.
Cheesy Bob probably is the best one. I like what was the monkey one? Monkey peas.
Monkey. Like they're not human. They're not peas fit for a human, but a monkey would probably enjoy these as in a soup if you split them.
Yeah. Now, are you ready for some taxonomy?
I'm ready for some names that are supposed to make sense.
Okay.
In Latin form? Greek?
In liquid form. Release the power of the sun in Latin form. Okay. So, it's in the kingdom you know, you love, and you're familiar with. Mm-hmm. Because you're in it. The kingdom Animalia. Yes. You know what those are.
That's my favorite kingdom.
Because your dog's in that kingdom?
And so
and
your
wife?
Yes, the two. It's my favorite kingdom because both my dog and my wife are both in it. So I hang out in that kingdom probably most of the time.
It's in the phylum you know, you love, and you're in. No, you're not.
No, we're not.
If you're Mr. Krabs,
are you talking
to arthropoda?
Are you talking to
talking to a crab?
Whole bunch of
talking to a spider. I was talking to the spider that's in the corner.
Is there a spider?
It's in the subphylum. Usually, I'm sure in one of these corners there is. Subphylum Crustacea.
Yeah, pill bugs are crustaceans, not.
They are
insects. Definitely not bugs.
Definitely not bugs, certainly not insects, because they're crabs. They're not crabs. But they are in the class Malacostraca, which is the largest order of crustaceans, and it's made up of crabs, shrimp, krill, lobsters, and all the major players in the crustacean kingdom. Mm-hmm. Which isn't a kingdom.
It's a class.
Yeah. It's a class.
It's
super order.
But it's like 1101 class. So it's kind of gen ed.
It's in the superorder Paracarida, which is made up of crustaceans with a brood pouch, kind of like a kangaroo. Kangaroo's not a crustacean, but it has a pouch like a kangaroo.
Oh, yeah. Love some brood pouches.
Brood pouches, robots in babies in your thighs or something.
Man, we got some zingers coming out there.
I don't think they keep them in their thighs.
Brood
so
pouches,
really
babies in your thighs. That sounds very uncomfortable, but that's pretty good.
Well, the order is Isopoda, which is made up of all-terrain crusties with 7 pairs of legs.
Crusties.
And they're all-terrain because they live underwater, they live in fresh water, salt water, and on land. These particular ones live on land.
Yeah,
the suborder is...
There are some giant ones at the bottom of the ocean that are as big as a football.
Toss that around.
No.
Or probably don't.
Or
you could play
yes.
Death Ball.
Whatever that's called, Mayan Death Ball. With it'll move a lot slower than your average armadillo. But
it's probably Aztec Death Ball. I can't remember which one. The suborder is Oniscidae, which is woodlice. Woodlouses. The family is Armadillidae.
Yeah, Armadillidae.
Armadillidae keeps the doctors at bay. The genus is Armadillidium. That's a fun one.
Armadillidium. That's what that was.
I like Armadillidium. It's like seize the armadillo.
Armadillidium sounds like you landed on a comet and you found a very rare armadillo.
It does. It's they should have called it armadillidium or whatever you just said instead of unobtainium.
Yeah, or at least that's what the Juggernaut's armor should be made out of. Yeah. It's like, oh, you've got adamantium, I've got armadillidium. That's how the Juggernaut sounds, by the way.
Seize the armor. And the species is vulgare.
Vulgare.
Because they are vulgare. Because
They
are,
say swear words.
No, because they're a conglomerate of vampires that control all of vampire kind and destroy you if you get out of line.
What? I think you're thinking of Vulcans.
I was thinking of Volturi, which is a deep cut to the Twilight universe.
Oh, okay. Well, I was thinking.
Actually, if you've ever seen Twilight, it's not that deep of a cut.
Oh, wait. When you said Twilight universe, my first thought was the Twilight Zone. I was like, oh, I didn't know there was an episode about vampires. I must have missed that one. No, but yeah.
Nope.
I gave you too much credit.
Or not enough.
All right, so yeah.
Would you like to have this described to you?
No, I would not. I have something to say first.
Okay.
Basically, I have a quiz to pose to you. Can't pass over my favorite part of the show. The part of the show where I ask you a question, and the question is the same every time. What is the name of a term of venery for this animal? What is the... oh, wait, I didn't say critter groups. Critter groups! I'm just going to throw that in there. So, yeah, what is the name of a group of these animals? What is the term of venery? What is the collective noun? I could not find anything for woodlice or isopods. So I thought about doing like crabs or something like that, but no. We're going to go with lice, even though this is not even close to being a louse. It's just a misnomer, but we're going to go with lice anyway. So, Joe, what would you call a group of lice? Is it A, a shimmer of lice, B, a party of lice, C, a flock of lice, or D, a nest of lice?
I'm going to say nest. Final answer.
I knew I'd get you with this one because it's insane and you're not going to be happy about it. Flock.
Is it a flock?
It's a flock.
Get out. They should have called it a patty.
They don't even... What?
Like a lice patty?
No, yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, that I mean I don't.
Flock is the worst.
Yeah, it is worst. I agree with you there. It doesn't even fly. Yeah, I mean, what? So you have a flock of lice in your hair? I mean, it's almost grosser than infestation. But yeah, so I mean, it's not even that did not describe wood lice, but now we know what a group of lice is called. So now you can tell us what it looks like.
Okay. So, they're in your gardens. They're under your wood things. They're in your piles of leaves. Because they're wood lice, your typical roly-poly pillbug. They look like a tiny little armadillo with segmented armor plates that go widthwise down the back of their exoskeletons. The frontmost armor segment forms a U shape, out of which their little broad heads stick out. And then each side of these heads, there are two compound eyes that grace their cerebrums, with two segmented antennas that come out of the front of their heads.
Yeah, and they can...
What's the plural and what's the singular? Antennae?
Antennae, yeah.
Which one's that?
Antennae is the plural. Antenna is the singular.
Singular. Antennae.
They're the little guys from A Bug's Life. Yeah,
they're like clowns, or like the acrobats.
Yeah, clown acrobats. That's a Pokemon.
So they're that is a it is. It's not though, but it should be. Their abdomen forms the back third of their body, with the majority of their being taken up by the thorax. Flipping these little cuties over will reveal a writhing mass of facehugger-esque legs, of which there are 14, which is a weird number of legs.
I mean, at least it's an even number of legs.
It's true, but...
Would be even weirder if it was odd.
That's when you first suggested this, and I looked it up, I was like, not having known it was a crustacean, I saw that it had 1 million legs, and I was like, wait a minute, this ain't no bug. This pillbug is an imposter.
Because it has to have 6. to be a bug.
The European, what are centipedes and millipedes?
They're not bugs, but they are insects.
Interesting. Oh, last thing. The European woodlouse can be found in dark gray, brown, and black. In some cases, they have a silver lining around each segment.
They're very optimistic.
So that's what they say. There's a silver. Every pill bug has a silver lining.
Or some of them do. Those are the good ones. Those are the ones that you want on your corporate team. Because they think optimistically. But they're like down to earth, you know? Because, that's where they live. Down in the earth.
Yeah. Now that brings us to one thing. Like, how big is this? It's really difficult to kind of put in my mind's eye. And there's only one way to remedy that, and that's with the Measure Up segment. I have not written down the intro this time. We're going to see if I can get through it.
Let's do it.
Because it's like one of those things. It's like I can type without looking until I can't look,
I can type without looking until I think about the fact that I'm typing without looking.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see if it works. Welcome to the beloved Measure Up segment, the official listener's favorite part of the show. The part of the show that's introduced by you when you send in audio of yourself saying, I think I skipped the part already.
That sounded right.
The part of the show where we present the animal size and dimensions in relatable terms. It's also part of the show that's introduced by you when you send in audio of yourself saying, singing, or chittering the words measure up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. Today, we don't have a new measure up intro. So that means we get to hear from an animal and Carlos has to guess what it is.
Here we go.
I forgot to tell what measure up is in the first run. But here we go. Without further ado, the listener's favorite part of the show. Okay, so
there's a lot going on.
So you're hearing birds, but I'm looking for this humming sound, like this buzzing sound.
Okay.
Yeah, or the grunting sound. I didn't think it sounded like a grunt. That would have been a good red herring to throw in grunty animals. But here's what I got for you.
Okay.
Is it A, the giant hornet wing or giant hornet wings? Is that what you're hearing? Or is it hummingbird wings? Or is it giant Dobson fly wings? Or is it D, the last one, a vacuum in the upstairs apartment?
Wow, I mean, I would have, had you said warthog, I probably would have gone with that.
Would you like to hear it again?
No, I'm good. Because there's literally no way for me to decide what kind of wings they are. Giant hornet, giant fly, or hummingbird. We've been pretty close to a hummingbird. I don't remember it making that kind of sound. It's probably between the hornet and the fly. I'm going to go with the fly.
Final answer?
Yes.
The Dobson fly?
Sure. Yes, the Dobson fly.
That is incorrect.
No.
The correct answer was hummingbird.
It was a hummingbird. Wow, I've never heard a hummingbird's wings before, just by being near one. Before.
I was today years old when I found out that a hummingbird is so named, probably because of it makes a humming sound when it flies.
But not I don't know, there was a low, sporadic grunt.
It was whipping around in the video. It wasn't just hovering in one spot.
Huh.
But here we go. Are you ready to talk about length?
Yep.
They're about 18 meters.
What?
I mean, 18 millimeters.
Oh, okay. Goodness, how have I not heard about this? It's
about the size of a whale.
It's a cryptid show. All
land
all of
whale.
A sudden.
They're so sneaky, but they're like elephants.
It's this 40-foot armored crustacean just walking around underneath all of your wood things at home. Just keep an eye out, please. You can easily miss them.
They're 18 millimeters or 0.71 inches.
Okay.
How many pill bugs go into the Beats pill? Not a sponsor. The length of the Beats pill.
The Beats pill.
It's like a little pill-shaped speaker.
Oh, I was like, I was trying to imagine, I don't know, an actual pill.
I tried to find what was the largest pill ever, and that's not information that is forthcoming on a Google search. But here's a hint. The Beats pill was released in 2012, and it was one of the first products that was developed after Beats split from Monster Cable Products.
Beats pill just sounds like a street name for a drug.
Yeah.
It's like, hey man, you got some Beats? It's like, yeah, I have $350 headphones right here.
Yeah, I have a vegetable right here. Purple vegetable? Want a purple vegetable?
No, gross. All right, so I'm imagining that this pill. I have a coffee thermos here next to me, and so I'm gonna imagine it's that big, which is what is about 7 inches tall. And this is 0.7 inches, so we're gonna go with 10. Exactly 10.
10 pill bugs.
10 pill
Final
bugs
answer.
go into the height of this pill, the Beats pill.
That is incorrect.
Oh, darn.
But it's pretty close because the correct answer is 11.7 pill bugs.
That's basically correct for me.
The pill was 7.7 inches or 20 centimeters.
Wow.
Pretty good guess.
Yeah. I mean, I have one of those boom speakers. It's seems like what the Beats pill sounds like what that is. Anyway. Yes. That's a win for me for sure.
Let's talk about weight. 116 milligrams or 0.004 ounces.
Uh-oh. I have no idea.
Well, how many pill bugs could go into the largest Glyptodontidae, an extinct ancestor of the armadillo? And you've probably seen pictures of this guy.
Have I? Is it like
a glyptodont? It's like an armadillo-looking thing. Here's a hint. The Glyptodontidae is thought to have looked like an armored beaver and lived in South America before the demise of the species.
I think I remember like goofy-looking pictures of this thing.
Yeah. Now we're talking megafauna.
Yeah, we're talking megafauna for sure.
It's in the megafauna era.
20 feet? It seems about right. It's like that dinosaur with the big club tail. Yeah.
How much? Well, it's not the dinosaur.
No, but it's like...
That's an ankylosaurus.
Yeah, that's what it was.
How heavy is a 20-foot?
Oh, yeah, I'm doing weight here. I think a rhino is like 8,000 pounds. That's at least 4 tons. We'll go with rhino size. 4 tons, 8,000 pounds. And this is more... All right, let's do some math. 32 million. Final answer.
32 million?
Yes.
Final answer. The correct answer is 17,241,379.
So almost
pill
exactly
bugs.
Half of the weight I was assuming. So 4,000-ish pounds.
Yeah, the biggest glyptodont is thought to have been as much as 2,000 kilograms or 4,400 pounds.
Interesting.
Interesting indeed. Although, from a skeleton, we really don't know how fat these were. But seeing as how it's covered in an armor that I think has been preserved, we have a good idea of their size. So, are you ready to hear some fast facts?
Yes.
The European woodlouse is common across Europe, the UK, and the Mediterranean basin. Most woodlice aren't able to withstand dry climates because they lose moisture rapidly through their exoskeletons. However, the European woodlouse is able to withstand drier areas than their kin, hence their broad range. Still, it prefers coastal areas and soils rich in calcium carbonate. The woodlouse is so called because it's often found in decaying wood and plant material. It loves to munch tasty dead plant matter, algae, and lichens. Kind of like the diet of Tardigrade.
Yeah, just on a much, much bigger scale.
Yeah. You might find them more easily on cold days when it prefers to bask in sunlight to warm up. When it's hot, they stick to the shadows, watching, waiting for a tasty dead leaf to drop.
Yeah, they're not really pouncing, are they?
Yeah, they're like a tree star. They're waiting for a tree star.
Oh, man, that had to have tasted so delicious. I could only imagine.
That Dawn Blue tree star covered in morning dew made me want a salad when I was a child.
Yeah, and then I was so disappointed by actual salads.
Yeah. Yeah. So the temperature, or the temperate Mediterranean, is ideal because of the pillbug's temperature range. It can die in temps below -2 Celsius, which is 28 degrees Fahrenheit, and above 36 Celsius or 97 Fahrenheit. However, on a cold night, they may go into a dormant state to avoid freezing to death.
Kind of like the tardigrade.
Yeah. They're docile and non-threatening to humans, which is why they're popular among children. However, keeping pill bugs requires specific environmental factors, so do your research before little Timmy brings these crusties into his room.
You don't want the wrong crusties.
And you don't want crusties and just to put them in a dry environment with not good temperatures. Because then they'll die.
You don't put it in your bearded dragon terrarium.
Well, unless
you want to feed them to your bearded
feed.
dragon.
Yeah. All right, that's all I got.
All right, interesting stuff. It's time for the major fact. So, as we know, gills are not limited to just fish, cephalopods, and other sea creatures, basically. We've also talked about insects like the damselfly larvae recently that have gills, but that's because they live underwater for most of their lives. So gills are just for breathing underwater, right? Wrong.
Yeah. Dang it.
Gotcha. I knew it. I knew I was going to get you on that one. The woodlouse puts an end to what is probably a pretty hurtful prejudice and shows us that even landlubbers can have gills too. Woodlice breathe through gills. Did you know that they...
I did not.
No?
Earlier today, I didn't know that they weren't bugs.
Or that hummingbirds hummed.
Yeah, that's right.
So, but despite the fact that they live exclusively on land, they have gills and they breathe through them. So, like, what's the deal? Why have gills if you breathe air like a normal person? I mean, crab. Well, the woodlouse doesn't exactly breathe air. It kind of still breathes underwater, quote unquote. Its gills are located on small flappy appendages, kind of these weird extensions to their top 10 legs, which sounds like a clickbait title. Top 10 legs. That's a BuzzFeed article for sure. But like you said, they have 14 legs. So the first 10 legs have these gills on them. The flaps are almost always covered in a thin layer of water. So when oxygen from the air hits the water veil that's over the gills, it gets absorbed into the water, and then from the water through the gills into the respiratory system of the woodlouse. So that's why they live in moist areas where there's a lot of water to go around. Since they're so small, just a little bit of moisture can coat their gills so that they can breathe. So that's why if they dry up, you mentioned they don't like dry environments. If they dry up, they're not necessarily just drying up. They're actually suffocating, like a fish or like a crab, like a crustacean that is not underwater anymore. But as you also mentioned with the European woodlice, some species have begun to develop small pores on their bellies. And those pores lead to tubes where air can pass through and oxygenate the body. And those tubes are called pseudotracheae. Kind of, pseudotracheas. They still need to use the water to absorb the oxygen. But because the tubes are on the inside of the body, they can keep them moist longer, rather than being these flaps on the outside of their legs that can dry up with a hot gust of wind. So they can keep these moist and still, when the oxygen goes in, absorb it into the respiratory system. So that's adaptation in action, folks. And that allows them to survive in much drier areas than their kin. So that's all I got. That's a yeah. So the next time you see a roly-poly, first of all, remember that it's a crustacean, and second of all, remember that it's actually breathing through water, through its little gills that are on its legs. So be careful, because it probably hurts to poke them or something like that. But you got anything else?
That's all I got.
All right, that was the woodlouse. So for you out there in Podcastia, keep your armor close, protect your vital organs when threatened, and always keep your pseudotracheae moist like the woodlouse here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Hey LDT listeners, thanks for listening to the end of the episode. For your loyalty, you get a shameless self-promotion from us. If you haven't already, leaving a review on your favorite podcast app can really help us grow. But telling your podcast-loving friends about us is even better. Also, don't forget to send in your Measure Up intros and animal suggestions to ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We love hearing from you. As always, thanks, most of all, for listening.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
Don't try it, though. It's not white chocolate.
No.
Unless it is, in which case, then you're fine.
But make sure you definitely know it's white chocolate.
Mhm.
And it's not laced with dark chocolate.
Pressing their dark chocolate into the white chocolate.